Welcome back to Yoga Awakening. I'm Katie. And welcome to this practice space, a new space for us, for Yoga Awakening here on YouTube at least. This is actually the space where I guide all of my live yoga classes on Zoom, so our more in-person style classes. And this is often, usually, where my own personal practice takes place. So welcome into this slightly more intimate, smaller space. We'll do our best to make it work. This class is a restorative yoga practice to rebalance the nervous system. Let's get started. It will definitely be helpful to have a few of your usual yoga props or your household replacements with you for this practice. So as you can see here, I have a blanket and a bolster, and I also have a couple of my yoga blocks here off to the side. So take a moment if you need to pause the video and grab any of those things. Of course, you could be using some pillows from your bed, maybe some big towels or blankets, whatever you have. And we only have really a couple of simple shapes for this practice. We're going to get started on the back. So we'll be doing a guided meditation, a brief guided meditation here on the back. So I encourage you to be mindful in how you set yourself up for this basically shavasana-like shape here. I'm going to use my bolster for underneath the knees and the backs of the thighs. You might opt for a different prop. Just making sure that you're moving any hair there out of the way so that the back of the head can firmly settle onto the mat or the floor. I've spread my feet nice and wide. I've left some space in between the sides of the body and the arms. I'll close the eyes. Just start by simply arriving here in your space. So if that means for you getting any little wiggles out there, maybe getting yourself really comfortable. Maybe it means just starting to allow the weight of the body to sink down into those props, if any that are supporting you. Know that in starting this video, in joining this practice here with me, what you're really offering yourself is a container. You can think of it like a container for your experience. I think that's really often what yoga, maybe especially practices like these, but what yoga, restorative yoga, have to offer us, a container for all of our experience. So what does that mean? That means that we are committing, there is this element of discipline, this discipline to pause, to set aside the things we have been attending to during the day. Maybe you're practicing this one in the evening. It means that, and it also means that the experience can be whatever it is. Because what we're offering ourselves, what I'll be guiding you to explore, is really just being with your experience. Not always an easy thing, but certainly a valuable one. Especially if you're dealing with any difficulties, maybe anxiety, sadness, maybe pain or chronic pain somewhere in the body. Maybe it's none of those things in particular, but instead it's simply a desire to find balance. Maybe in the midst of a busy life or just a busy week. Start to notice the inhale and the exhale. Just noticing how the breath moves in the body, how it in fact moves the body. Here's where we'll start to slowly unravel some of the different layers of our experience. It might be helpful here to place one or both hands on the low belly. Give yourself perhaps this tactile awareness of the breath moving the body. Do your best here to actually not try to deepen the breath or make it different. For today's practice, we won't so much focus on that. Instead, we'll focus on that simple act of guiding the attention to the breath. So noticing, where do you feel the breath in the body? Maybe it's right here in the lower belly. Maybe you can start to identify some other areas of the torso, the trunk, where you experience the breath. Notice what it's like to start to explore these areas of the body. So the belly, rib cage, chest, maybe the sides of the body, back of the body. As you breathe in and breathe out.
Keep refocusing the attention on the breath, wherever you're discovering it in the body. Maybe that means even in the throat. Maybe you can even feel the air as it enters the nostrils. So feel free here to get really specific and subtle as that sense of curiosity spreads, as your awareness spreads. So this is the first part of our meditation. Feeling the breath in the body. And it's likely that as you continue this sort of experiment that your breath probably will change. Maybe it will soften or deepen. But we'll just know the focus isn't so much on that as it is on that quality of attention. That honing in on all of the experiences you can identify in these regions of the body. Just allowing the mind to move about, to explore, to feel into these spaces. I'm going to give you an option here. So if for whatever reason you're coming to this practice and maybe there is some anxiety or there is pain, or maybe the mind is full or busy or racing, you might choose to stay here, to stay with this part of our meditation. Perhaps feeling a sense of grounding or like returning back to center as you guide the attention into the belly, the rib cage, the chest, the front body, maybe also the area of the spine, the sides of the ribs. So exploring this area of the torso. Otherwise, we'll continue a little further along this path and see where it takes us. From this awareness that you've cultivated around the area of the torso, see if you can start to spread your attention outwards into the extremities. So we'll start by starting to allow that attention to ripple or spread or sink downwards into pelvis and hips. Thighs, knees, calves, finally even into ankles and feet. And then likewise, we'll continue to spread that awareness up into shoulders and arms, elbows, wrists and hands. And I invite you here to allow the arms and hands to once again rest along the sides of the body. If you're continuing on this path with me here, drawing the attention in to the limbs. We continue to simply notice. If a story or a thought feels like it's forming there, just keep coming back. Coming back to the sensations and textures. Maybe there's even a sense of energy, the energy of the body, a sort of pulsing, or flickering, or rippling. Finally, I invite you to draw your attention to the very edges of the body. The borders, the limits of the body, where skin meets space, meets air. That might mean feeling the quality of air in your space, in your room. Feeling it on the skin. Perhaps you can feel clothing making contact with skin. Perhaps you can feel all the points where the skin touches the ground. That quality of firmness. Perhaps your attention becomes so fine, so subtle, that you start to explore that edge of where the skin meets the air. Maybe asking, what does that limit, that edge between you, between your physical being and the rest of the world, the outer world, feel like? Is there a defined edge or limit at all? What does it feel like to bring the attention right to the edges of your being? Feeling the whole of your being, all all the parts of the body, all the spaces in the body as one. And then if you are out towards the edges of the body with your attention, I invite you to start to guide that attention back towards center, back towards that simple experience of the breath moving the body. For our last couple of moments here before we come into our next shape, I'd just like you to start to move the body in any way that may feel good. So we've been in our shavasana shape for a little while. So as you start to circle back to your breath, or maybe you were meditating there on the breath for the duration, either way, you'll just start to find some soft movement, anything you like. You don't have to overthink it. It doesn't have to be even a specific yoga pose or shape. And just start to re-ground ourselves a little bit in the physicality of the body. Also invite a little refreshment there for the muscles and the circulation, the whole system of the body. A few more moments here just to find some easy movement, maybe some reclined twists. Maybe just softly rocking the head a little side to side. And find your way slowly up to a seat. We'll find a brief forward fold here, just for a couple of minutes. Before we come on into our final shape. So, because we won't be here for too long, I'd really like you to make this an easeful forward fold. So that might mean separating the heels a little further than you might normally. It might mean using plenty of props and just coming forwards a little less deeply. You might like to bend the knees and perhaps bring a folded or rolled blanket or towel underneath them. In this new position, you might return right back to one of those parts of our meditation. So it might mean starting to feel the breath, but now seeing if you can observe it in the back body, maybe the sides of the ribs. Noticing how the breath moves even there. Maybe it's feeling into the edges of the skin, now along the back line of the body. We'll start to unfold, unroll. You can go ahead and set any props there off to the side. We'll just take an easy twist here over to the right. Again, introducing a little refreshment in between stillness. And then a twist over to the left. Finally, back to center. And then our last thing here, we'll just start to make some funny faces as we move the jaw. So starting to move the jaw there a little, often a place where we hold tension. And don't be afraid to make some silly faces. And then allow the jaw to relax there as best you can. Feel that movement kind of settle and notice if there's sort of a renewed sense of ease or softness. Great, now let's take it into our final shape here, which will be legs up the wall. So I have a wall fairly close to me here, so I'm gonna go for that option. But if you didn't, you can actually do this pose a couple of other ways. One that I especially love is to grab a chair or even a couch or potentially a bed might work, depending on how high it is. And then I would simply put my shins on that chair. So shins would be lifted and then upper body would be in shavasana, just like our regular legs up the wall. And that's a little bit of a softer inversion, so a really nice option, I think. Otherwise, you could come with me over to a wall, and it's fine here if you can't see me in the video, so feel free to move away. If you have a yoga block, a final option could be, if you're not near a wall or a chair, it could be to tuck that block underneath you, lift the legs up from there, and I just like to make sure the feet are a little forward of the hips, so a little closer to my face, and that tends to help this feel like a more relaxing pose. Ideally, we want the legs to be relaxed. So I'm going to use my blanket here just for under the hips. You'll come right up close to your wall, and then go ahead and swing up. Just adjusting that blanket as you need, so it's just underneath the hips. Low back is free to sort of sink down there with gravity. And then once again, upper body is basically back here in our shavasana. Might feel nice just to gently tuck the shoulder blades underneath you. Close the eyes one final time. We'll do a simple pranayama or breathing exercise to end. This one is a stepped exhale. So the inhale is simple, regular inhale in through the nose. And then on the exhale, I'll be imagining almost as though I were walking down a flight of stairs or an escalator with the breath. So I'm letting out a little bit of the exhale each time I step down the stairs. For some reason, I really like that imagery. I sort of imagine that very slow, steady descent. And then when I reach the bottom of that flight of stairs, I'm at the bottom of my exhale and ready to take a new inhale. So it's that simple. You can take the imagery or leave it, but we're just letting the exhale out little by little. So let's give that a try. Inhaling in through the nose. Exhaling out again through the nose, but stepping down that flight of stairs, letting out a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more until you're totally empty. And then the inhale comes naturally. Inhaling in, exhaling a little more, a little more. You'll keep it going just like that. I'll leave you to find your own rhythm, following the length of your own inhales and exhales. Take a couple more rounds there. And whenever you finish your next exhale, that stepped exhale, you can allow the breath to return back to its natural rhythm, letting go of that control. We'll end our practice by simply checking in now with the body in this moment, with the energy in the body, maybe too with the mind and the emotions, and just asking, how do I feel now? And that might mean noticing if something has changed. Maybe the body feels more relaxed or calm. Maybe the mind as well. It's okay too to have a different experience. We're simply asking, how do I feel now? Perhaps using that fine-tuned attention that we practiced at the beginning to check in with the whole body, the whole being. And then we'll take a big breath in together. And on the exhale, go ahead and sigh this one out through the mouth. Your signal to simply allow everything to be as it is in this moment. Knowing that in this moment you are okay and everything is as it should be. This moment is fully what it is, nothing more, nothing less. Bring your hands to heart center here with me, and we'll say, the light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.